Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Ottawa. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Brian David Marshall, and we are underway in the semifinals. Neal Oliver, Grand Prix champion, Grand Prix runner-up as well, versus Xavier Allegrucci, and he is in his first GP top 8. He's 17 years old. He has not been playing Magic for as long as most of the players out here at the GP level, especially when you get to this stage of the tournament. But he had to beat Huey Jensen to get here. He also had to get by Pascal Maynard. Nothing's been easy for Xavier, but now he's got to defeat Neal Oliver, who's drafted a pretty nice Morph Secret Plans deck that I'm a big fan of.
It's all right.
No, come on.
I've been talking about Secret Plans all weekend. I have a Secret Plans deck in my pocket.
Yeah, he literally just pulled one out. Like, here's a good example. Like, VDM just carries it with him now. A good start here for Xavier, though. He went Morph into Long Shot Squad. Neal Oliver, just a Morph. And no sign of a Secret Plans yet that I can see. All right, Morph into Morph.
Is that,
this is pretty normal for Neal Oliver.
Looks like he
missed a land there.
He hiccuped there on his lands.
We'll see if it's a hiccup or a choke in a minute here, but in the meantime, Xavier is ready to do battle. And he's attacking with both, with 5 mana up, so that could be a Snowhorn Rider or a Glacial Stalker. There's a bevy of different cards that Morph could be, and Neal Oliver's going to have to consider all of them.
Think about double blocking the Long Shot
You
Squad
think about it, you definitely think about it, but oh, it's a Pine Walker, one of the best options here. And bang, take
Pseudo Vigilance.
8. Yeah, Pseudo Vigilance, take 8, Neal Oliver. That's a big hit of damage. And Neal's going to have to start hitting these land drops really quickly or he's going to fall way, way behind. Neal has been in these tricky spots where he's had to find his way out numerous times throughout the course of the day. He was playing 18 land double banner decks in both of his previous drafts.
Yeah, it doesn't like banners and sealed.
No.
That's
but
if you see that in the text feature, he says, I'm not so big on the banners. That was in regard to sealed decks.
Gotcha.
He really likes them. He likes jumping the curve to getting 5 mana. Like, he loves blocking. Rotted Mastodons on turn 4. That's his kind of magic.
All right. I like that too. I don't like Rotted Mastodons so much.
Yeah.
All right.
Now
Xavier is undeterred.
Have to.
Yeah, he is going to double block Long Shot Squad, and there is Awaken the Bear. Let's see if Neal Oliver has that Ice Feather Aven face down. If he doesn't, I think that's going to be about
he has
the
a
game.
Force Away.
All right, he's got the Force Away. So that's actually a nice tempo swing back for Neal Oliver, who's going to drop down to 7 life here. But maybe, well, no, Xavier still has a follow-up play, so Xavier really keeping the pressure on here, and Neal falling further and further behind. He's got a Kin Tree Warden that he's going to flip up now, though, on end step.
Right, because he wants to be able to, if nothing comes together, he wants to be able to just block, regenerate on that Pine Walker.
Totally. That basically blanks it. And, you know, looking at Xavier's colors, he doesn't have a lot of great ways to interact with a regenerator like that. The red spells usually will let it still regenerate, and the blue ones only get it out of the way temporarily. Now, that might be all that he needs here, but...
Yeah. Neal would also like to find a Dragon Eye Savant that he can just like, you have some 5-power creatures? Whatever.
Especially now that he's got the Awaken the Bear out of his hand.
They can go on a play date.
Was that a Temur Ascendancy in Xavier's hand too? Be an awkward time for it, but it's not bad. All right,
he does have a Temur Ascendancy.
He does. Okay, so Crippling Chill from Oliver is going to keep the Pine Walker on lockdown. And I think he's going to trade the Morph here. Yeah, there's a block. Got to do it. And it was a Witness to the Ages. But Hooting Mandrills is a follow-up. Xavier just does not stop. He's got card after card, and the Mandrills doesn't match up well against the Kin Tree Warden, as Trample makes that a lot worse. So this could get quite interesting.
He's like, no, I haven't played my land yet.
Yeah, he hasn't played a land. I don't think he said go yet. Maybe just a little miscommunication. So
or excitement.
Could be. I'd be excited if I was in Xavier's seat too.
He's got 9 points of power against the Kin Tree Warden.
Yeah. Ooh, there's a swamp though, so it looks like Neal has found his way out of this mess as far as the mana goes. The question is, can he get these cards out of his hand fast enough? Was it a Dragon's Eye Savant? That would be nice.
It is something that, with a lot more toughness than its 0 power.
Yeah, I would.
It could also be a Monastery Flock.
If it is, I would call him stable. If it's a Monastery Flock, it's a different story, though. He's stable there too. Flock works just as well. Block with the flock.
Block flock.
Boom. Now, is there a pump spell? or a burn spell, or a bounce spell, anything.
No.
It looks like not. So the long shot squad's going to join back, and Neal Oliver has scratched and crawled himself back into an even board state here, though barely. He is hanging on by a thread.
His motley assortment of unmorphed creatures are each taking care of one of the monsters on Allegrucci's side of the table. Did he draw a Secret Plans?
Yeah, Secret Plans at some point would be nice. Now that he's hit a bunch of lands in a row, he can actually afford to play it on one of these turns. The problem that he faces right now, though, doesn't really have anything to do with cards, right? It's not about how many cards he's got. It's about deploying them.
Yeah.
He's fallen so far behind thanks to that stumble on mana. He's got to do as much as he can here. He finds a morph. He's left up the mana to regenerate Kintree Warden, as now Xavier's at full power getting to untap that Pine Walker. The Pine Dad. Maybe that's the Ice Feather Haven. That would put Neal in a nice spot.
There's Set Adrift.
Set Adrift, your Monastery Flock. That's nasty. Yeah, Xavier, he has just not let up for 1 minute here. It has just been pressure, 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 pressure. And in comes the team.
Yep.
Now, the good news for Neal is that if he does have that Ice Feather Haven, Xavier's now tapped out. So if he's able to block and bounce, he could really set Xavier back and try to buy himself a little more time to get back into this thing, but it doesn't look like that's the case, as Neal's deep in the tank, and this is not looking good for him at all. Are we chump blocking with this morph? Is that what's happening? Yeah, he's going to regenerate, and he's just going to have to let his morph die, it looks like. What was it?
It was
1,000 wins?
Was that 1,000 wins? Jeez.
Yeah, he's actually only 1 mana away, but he would have died. Wow.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, his plan was to flip that up, but he just didn't plan on having his Monastery Flock get put on top of his library, which he just drew there.
That's about as good as Set Adrift has ever looked in this format.
That's the best I've ever seen it.
On a Monastery Flock.
I've certainly never gotten that much value out of it. I mean, wow. Chump blocking with your 1,000 wins. That was not the name of the game for Neal Oliver, but he was forced to. So he's going to play the Monastery Flock face up, play a Smoke Teller and no land drop. So he didn't actually have the land anyway. So that Set Adrift really, really set back Neal a long way. And he doesn't have mana up to regenerate right now, and he's going to be in chump block mode again. So block, 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 and everybody dies except for the Monastery Flock. This is bad news bears, man. Neal Oliver is not long for this world, but on Xavier's side, again, he has just been able to keep massive pressure up. The only good news for Neal is that Teamer Ascendancy hasn't really done anything.
Yeah.
He's been so far ahead, he hasn't needed it.
Is that going to be the card that says Scoop for Neal Oliver?
He's close. All 3 threats from Xavier are lethal right now. Oh, so brutal. He did draw that land. The next land, you know, if he hadn't Set Adrift, it was it was a land, and he could have just completely got the blowout. But as it stands, Set Adrift wins it.
It's like, oh, you're going to declare attackers? I concede.
Yeah. Wow. So Xavier up a game. He's already defeated Pascal Maynard. Now he's got to get through Neal Oliver. And don't forget, we've got another match going with 2 ringers. We've got Lucas Siao and Seth Manfield are battling on our secondary table. We'll probably be able to jump in for a quick look at that, too. Goodness sakes. Yeah, here they are. Looks like everybody's in shuffle mode here for now.
Seth Manfield's like, take a look at this thing.
I did. You know what? I went over there and he showed it to me. Very dedicated to his plan.
Yeah.
It plays one way.
Yeah. Interestingly, you know, he probably didn't start draft that deck until 5 or 6 picks into the draft.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he was very, very blue early on.
By the way, the deck, we should say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Double Trumpet Blast and a Rush of Battle and all the goodies to
2 Ponyback Brigades, 2 Hordling Outbursts.
Yeah, he's
4 Leaping Masters.
Yep.
just
Look,
this
it's
super
not
aggressive
super
deck.
dimensional, but it's very, very good at what it does.
Yes.
If that strategy is good against you, he's going to run you over every single time.
If your opponent stumbles at all,
oh yeah,
they are dead.
They're very dead.
They need to perfect you.
Yeah, I actually like a deck like that quite a bit in a situation like this,
Yeah.
where you get to be the assertive one. You know, sometimes these decks get a little weird in the top 8.
I found the deck to be very Randy.
Oh, it's very Randy.
Big R and little R.
Yeah, it's that deck's. It's a handful. There's no doubt about it. But it's like I said, it's also quite one-dimensional, though. You know, if you have a card like Death Frenzy, it just folds to it. I mean, the deck just lies down.
I mean, although you could be, you know, dead.
Dead Frenzy?
Yeah, I mean, you could just be dead on turn 5, you know, if you're on the play.
Sure. Yeah, chaining a couple of Hordling Outbursts into a Trumpet Blast is just about game against pretty much any deck in this format.
You're sitting there on 4 lanes looking at the Death Frenzy in your hand, you're like, all right, I'll tap.
Yeah.
And then, oh, okay.
No, never mind, take 16, all right. You got me. Yeah, that's where cards like Sam Black, the cards that, like he had 4 Obs on Guide, those are the ones that you want against that deck because those big chunks of life can really help out. All right,
Lucas looks like he matches up pretty well here against him.
Game. By the way, Seth Manfield's not Canadian.
No.
But running the Canada sleeves. I told him he's going to get yelled at by Americans. Said they're free, so what are you going to do? Those are sweet, though.
They have socialized Magic sleeves in Canada?
Oh, no. Route all tweets. They look great, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump back over to our main match. Xavier Allegrucci, 17 years old, in a pool full of ringers here now.
Yeah.
Neal Oliver, Lucas Xiao, and Seth Manfield are the ones who are left.
Here comes a morph.
And pretty standard opener here for Neal, though we do note he doesn't have green, or is that a forest? He doesn't have black or a Secret Plants. I mean, his deck really, really does thrive when he gets Secret Plans up and running early. And it's a lot clunkier and it's a lot worse when it doesn't.
Right.
So this is going to be a little bit of a thing to keep out on is if he draws or plays one in the early stages or not. If he doesn't, his deck is a lot worse.
Right.
He's got 2 in the deck, though.
Yep.
So
sends his morph into Allegrucci's morph.
here's Xavier's viewpoint here. All right, draws a card for the turn, and he hits a Swiftwater Cliffs.
You think we're going to see him play his Teamer Ascendancy here?
Maybe, unless he's got a morph. That's the hard part about Ascendancy is that it's just like there's never a good time to play it.
Really not a good spot. Unless, are those both just 2 Snowhorn Riders?
No, it was an Ascendancy. Yeah, you saw it. Yeah, see, he'd rather just play the morph here.
Yeah.
You could play it next turn and give it haste, but eh. So it looks like a pretty strong hand there for Xavier.
Yeah, and he's got the Sultai Flare.
Flare, Set Adrift. He's got a Weave Fate, so he can refill his hand if they get into kind of an attrition fight. It looks really good for him. Now, I don't know what's going on Neal Oliver's side, but at least he's hitting his mana this turn. Okay, well, now I know what's going on Neal Oliver's side. The beatdown. He's just going to jam with everybody here.
He's like, oh, by the way, remember that Force Away? Do you want to double block?
Oh, yeah, no kidding. And I think Xavier definitely wants to double block given what we've seen in his hand. And I don't think he can really afford to do it here. Remember, he doesn't have that 5th mana yet to start turning up Snowhorn Riders. And he's got Weave Fate, so he doesn't care about card advantage quite as much. He'd like to start trading, but you don't want to get 2 for 1 either. So yeah, he's forced to really just take it here, and that's a big hit. And there's a follow-up face-up Dragon's Eye Savant, so really nice turn there for Neal Oliver. Yep. And we're back in Xavier, who instantly
just
peels
casually, just like,
had
5th land.
No problem. So Xavier's going to have to sculpt out the next couple of turns. He's got the Savage Punch in his hand, which, you know, if he really wanted to take one for the team, he could trade a Morph and a Savage Punch for the Mystic, but it looks like he'd rather just keep developing his board here, maybe even turn more face up. Is that a Pine Walker?
Yeah, it might be.
It's going to get blocked no matter what. I mean, how does he not block? Yeah, it's a Pine Walker. So basically what Xavier's doing here is trying to set up for the Savage Punch next
real
turn.
Need to unmorph it there?
Absolutely not. No, you just leave it. Neal Oliver's going to figure out what it is, but why show him?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no reason to show him. None at all. Especially if Neal's got
there's the force away.
Wow. So that ends up being a huge blowout. Because if he didn't do that, he's got all of his mana up, and now Neal has to really think about sending Longshot Squad into a morph that could become something huge.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good call, BDM. He should have left that back. So let's see if he can recover from this tempo loss here.
He's down to 7.
He's down to 7, and there's an unblockable creature there. He might have to bite the bullet here and Savage Punch it. If he does, though, I don't know how we can win either way. That might have set him back too far. Neal Oliver looking to try to equalize here so he can force a game 3 to try to get to the finals of this GP. It would be the 3rd time that Neal's made the finals of the GP in the last year and a half. He won one and lost to Huey in the other one. But Xavier's the Huey Slayer. He's the one that beat Huey to get here in the top 8. So set adrift on the other side. Wow. Neal Oliver
everybody
with the
comes
pressure,
in.
and here comes the team.
You're going to be at 1 here. Yep, you're going to get to eat my morph. He doesn't even...
He didn't block?
No, just...
Well, he'd be at 1.
I guess
suppose
he knows what he's drawing.
Yeah.
He's just
Fair enough. All right, so we do get that game 3. It's good for us viewing at home here, right? I mean, look, whoever you're rooting for, they've got a chance. All right, here's our top 8 bracket. You can see that our top 8 was quite stacked. Pascal Maynard versus Xavier, who we're watching now. Xavier gets by him. Neal Oliver beats Sam Black. Sam had a great deck. Really solid obs on deck. Huge power level. A little lacking on the mana, but really good deck. Jessica Buchanan, well, she played against Seth Manfield.
Yeah, she had a solid-looking teamer deck against Seth's just very, very, almost Boros. Almost Boros deck with a bit of black. And then, of course, Lucas Xiao got past Shahar Shenhar.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I was watching their first game. And Lucas, play, whatever, did all this stuff, and then he's like, Dune Blast. And he wins, because that's what Dune Blast does. So they're shuffling up and having a little chat, and then they're doing their sideboarding plans. And
wait, who did the Dune Blasting?
Lucas.
Okay. Because Shahar Shenhar has a Dune Blast.
I think he's got to end hostilities.
No, I believe he's got a Dune Blast in his sideboard.
Oh, interesting. Anyway, yeah, but Lucas played it, and our text writer Jacob Van Lunen came by and said, "Hey, who won this game?" And they were like, "Lucas did." And they're like, "How did it end?" And Lucas was like, gonna show him, but it was like he's like, "I'll just come back. Don't worry about it. Like, let them sideboard or whatever." And Shahar goes, "Did he ask how he won?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dune Blast," like a robot. I was like, "Well." Now we know how that game ended. So anyway, that put Seth Manfield versus Lucas Xiao, and they're battling right now. And it looks like Seth has already won.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And I'm not shocked. His deck is shockingly fast. I mean, it is a brutal beatdown machine.
No nonsense.
It is. Now,
it could be a real nightmare for either of these decks in the finals.
Absolutely. Like, your 06 blockers do not do much against that Neal Oliver. And Xavier is playing big, beefy creatures that they can get ran around.
Right.
I do have a question for you, though, BDM.
Yeah.
Historical context on winning 3 GPs. It's got to be a short list, right?
It's a pretty short list. I don't have
like
it.
Actual winning. No, I mean, I don't need you to peel a list off the top of your head, but that's not something that happens, right?
No.
Winning 3 GPs, like, there's players with 20-plus top 8s, but winning 3, you're talking about a pretty select crew. And Seth Manfield, if he wins this GP, will have won 3.
And I honestly do believe he's in great shape to do that at this point against either of these players.
I know. It really does feel like it. All right, so players are taking a look at their openers here. Let's see if we can't get underway.
In some formats, you start out, the starting life total is 17, because there's, you break a fetch land and you get a shock land. Starting life total in this format is definitely 21.
Oh, absolutely. You might as well just write it down.
Yeah.
Again, no secret plans for Neal Oliver on the first turn, or the second turn. He just can't seem to find those secret plans.
They're
He
pretty
won last
secret.
game without it. Might have been better that he didn't have it last game, though, when you really think about it, because all of his spells really did something.
He just didn't
have a lot of wiggle
He just
room.
didn't have a turn to do anything with it.
No, drawing extra cards wasn't the name of the game, and it was all about tempo.
Looks like Neal's considering a face-up.
What has he got?
Looks like he's thinking about a face-up Monastery Flock.
Could save him a couple of damage here, but you feel like the morph trading with the
But I would much rather trade my
with the
Monastery
other
Flocks
morph.
for, yeah. Or Jeskai wins. Oh,
It's a wind scout, yeah, but he's going to block with it, I bet. Unless he's got some real plan lined up in his hand here, because he already feels a little bit behind.
yeah. And
Yeah, he's
Xavier
just snapping it
telegraphs,
off.
he's just like, no, I'm not. No, my morph's too special.
Yeah,
It's a precious snowflake.
yeah. Most of them are. All right, here's another smoke teller as well. Man, Neal would kill for a 2-3.
Yeah. My kingdom for a Tuskguard captain.
No kidding. I don't think he's got any of those. No such luxury in the draft.
Gonna play a morph.
That's the easy part.
Yeah, we didn't see which one it was.
And he's going to just run out the Kintree Warden as well. We've seen him play that. He's got to be conservative here and really try to get the shields up as quickly as possible, as Xavier's just hit his 5th land and is just going to battle with the morphs. Worst case scenario, that morph is a Snowhorn Rider.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So crunch in there for 5, trade Smoke Teller for random morph, which was a Mystic of the
Wow.
Hidden Way, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Which is fine. I mean, look, Neal's not looking to beat down. That is not the stage that we're at. His deck is lacking in real removal, right? He's got a lot of ways to get creatures out of the way temporarily, but not that many ways to answer a card like Snowhorn Rider. But this is an aggressive play here from Xavier. He sunk a lot of resources into this Snowhorn Rider, and if it were to get bounced or set adrift, it could be a pretty big game for Neal Oliver. Oh, he's battling.
Is Kintree Warden battling?
It's not blocking. In. Back down to 21 for you, Xavier.
Oh, that's right, trample. Better than flying.
It's not great here, yeah. All right, there's a morph, and he is representing Force Away
yeah.
here. Though I do feel like he probably would have just ran it out if he had it. Oh, this could be a Dragon's Eye Savants, and it is. He shows Set Adrift, and he's going to see Glacial Stalker, Force Away, Forest. So now Neal Oliver is going to be able to craft a plan here. And this is interesting. Does Xavier use his Force Away to force through 5 damage with the Dragon's Eye Savants, because it's going to block?
Right.
And since the Snowhorn Rider has trample, it will all carry over if he forces it away. He also will get the loot. He doesn't. He's just going to bolster his board with Glacial Stalker and keep Force Away in his hand. It's a nice play from Xavier. And what does Neal Oliver have to follow up here? Now the board looks pretty good, right? At the moment, it's completely stable if you're in Neal Oliver's seat. You don't feel too bad if you're in Xavier's seat because you've got a trick and 2 huge creatures, but he's going to need more to get through. That this is not going to finish the game from where it sits. Especially with Set Adrift hanging out in Neal Oliver's hand. He might just fire it off on the Snowhorn Rider to buy himself a full turn here.
Lines up a morph play.
Okay. I don't think he has quite enough mana here to do Set Adrift this turn either. Not a priority,
I think
though.
he's got Crippling Chill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, more of these tempo plays, right?
Yeah.
Like, nothing that just says, well, that thing's dead now, and it's not
During
coming
your
back.
upkeep, Crippling Chill that, draw a card. Where's my 1,000 wins?
Yeah, where is the 1,000 wins when you need it? All right, so here's the question. Xavier, do you have a threat that can actually get through the blocks and such that, that Neal Oliver has set forth? And you know what? The answer is no. All he's got is the Force Away and a couple of lands, so he's going to have to wait here. He's contemplating forcing away right now to get a loot going.
He's like, oh, what's your morph?
Yeah, what's your morph? Get it out of here,
Abomination.
by the way. Wow, it's a nice one. And that is effectively going to draw him a card because he did have extra lands in hand. So an aggressive but reasonable play there, and it does buy him another attacker. So Oliver's at 14 life, though, and relatively stable. Xavier, though, slightly ahead on board here and looking to really press his advantage. There's a lot of cards that Xavier could draw that can really put him out there and put him out way ahead. But he does need to find them. Doesn't have them right now.
3 cards in his yard for the center draft.
Yeah, I think Oliver can just, if he wants, he can just windmill the Abomination here. Like, it blocks the Sultai Flare anyway, and the Glacial Stalker just bounces off the
that's what I was wondering
and the
about.
Rider's not untapping, so... Oh, that's weird.
So he said that, no, the Rider's untapping this turn.
No.
No.
He upkeep gripped it, or crippling chilled it, right?
I thought that was the previous turn.
He did it on upkeep. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, whatever, very aggressive, but it is going to blank a draw step here and ensure that the board state stays the same way it is, which is going to let Neal play the Morph here and basically use up all of his mana. Neal Oliver is showing at 15 because I guess he played a land there, a gain land. So, now what? We have reached a stalemate of some proportion here, though it's a very fragile one.
Oh, yeah. There is much fatness waiting to be sent into the red zone here.
Xavier brought the beef. There is no doubt about that. Another Morph.
Looks like 1,000
Was it 1,000 wins, BDM?
I think it was 1,000 wins.
Oh my goodness. He needs a land here, though, if he wants to turn that
Abomination
up, but I don't think he's got it. You can go ahead. So now he gets to leave up Regeneration, though, for his Kintree Warden, which is going to take care of Glacial Stalker. So
decent
spot here.
Allegrucci was out of cards.
Yeah, he was empty. Completely empty. And his last draw step was that Snowhorn Rider again, basically. Yeah, this is about the worst case scenario for Neal. He's drawn a Morph, which could be any crazy, powerful, awesome thing. All right, so no flipping there. Does he have 7 mana? Yes.
He does.
You think he's just selling a little here? Oh yeah, he's definitely selling it. You see that?
Well, you know, I mean,
I mean, he's nervous. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
like, this is a tense moment.
He's selling to Allegrucci also that maybe I want to consider my Abomination. He's going to flip his Abomination here.
Wow, this is a great line here, especially if that's 1,000 wins. Neal Oliver just has the world at his fingertips here. Like, not a lot can go wrong here, unless Allegrucci finds some way to get that more flipped up beforehand. What is this nonsense?
It's his own monastery
flock. Now, on one hand, Oliver's going to be a little disappointed that he doesn't get to loot, but on the other hand, he's like, okay, well, at least it's not another Snowhorn Rider.
These guys keep flocking up the board.
Is it finally time for a secret plan? Nope, no. It's a long shot squad. And what is this? What's the follow-up? A 1-drop?
You know, I think I saw him.
Is it an embodiment of spring? Wow,
yeah, I think he sided that in. I saw him looking at that card in his sideboard.
Interesting. Maybe he brought it in because he saw so many smoke tellers and such.
It's funny, Allegrucci has in his sideboard a Trail of Mystery.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he was thinking about going that way.
Yeah, that seems like a fine place for a Trail of Mystery here. I mean, the card's okay, but like he doesn't seem to have quite enough.
There's the secret plans, but
he's got one undone Morph, and you know how it goes, BDM. You start chaining.
You do start chaining.
It kind of just one leads into the next. It does tend to work that way. And Neal Oliver has pulled way ahead on board now. That's the secret plans. Okay. Is he going to cash one in right now?
He's going to play another Morph.
Oh, wow. Wow, this is really bad for Xavier. Like, he's way behind now. He's going to need to find something like an Icy Blast or something along those lines to try to get himself out of this.
Doesn't have an Icy Blast.
No Icy Blast?
No.
Okay. So he just draws Sirach.
Oh, Sirach's pretty good.
Sirach's pretty good. It's going to give all of his creatures trample, which might matter. He end-stepped it. Sorry, he didn't just draw it. He end-stepped it. Now he's drawing his card for the turn. This might give him some game here. But unfortunately, when your opponent has 7 creatures,
right,
things get pretty muddled up if you don't have a combat trick or something to back them up. I think that Xavier, though, has drawn his Weave Fate, which is one of the best draws he could have at this point.
Yeah, and he's just going to run it out there.
Yeah, he wants to try to find a Morph or something to add to the board right now. Wow, and he finds 2 nice things, or at least one nice thing. He's found a Hooting Mandrills and something else. Set adrift. Wow.
Oh, wow.
That could be big. This is going to be a tight one. Set adrift might not be enough, though. Like, I don't know how much he can break up here, but as you can see, Neal Oliver's in full shields up mode. Every creature untapped, and at 15.
Right.
It's not like one hit from Xavier's going to kill him. Like, he's got life total to work with. He's going to run it out there.
Here's Set adrift.
Okay, let's see what he comes up with here. He's obviously got a plan.
He's like, I want the morph you just played to go on top.
Ooh, it's 1,000
It is
wins.
1,000
Good
wins.
to know, says Xavier. Now, the interesting part about 1,000 wins, it's so dang good that even if they know, it's kind of like, what are you going to do? You know?
Yeah, giving all your creatures trample is not that great if they don't turn sideways.
Right. Yeah, Xavier's in a tough spot now because he clearly wants to start battling and getting in for damage, but he's tapped out. Like, he can't represent any tricks. He's just going to get destroyed.
Neal can't use his embodiment of spring there.
No, it had his summoning sickness still.
All right, but he gets a blue card now.
Oh, because he got set.
Yeah, I knew that was a Dragon Eye.
Oh, that's great.
And what was the card he saw in hand?
I didn't see. I think it was Hooting Mandrills.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
knew that was there.
Yeah, we knew that from before, so that must be what it was. So Neal Oliver, it feels like this is Neal's game to lose. Like, it feels like all he has to do is kind of make things, you know, tread these waters carefully and just not let Xavier get in some massive hit on him at some point.
Sure.
But once he gets to untap with 1,000 wins, I mean, he's probably just going to start beating down with it at some point.
Oh, two more.
Here we go. See, this is how it works. You know this,
I
BDM.
do know. I love it. Oh my gosh.
You're a card-carrying member of the Secret Plans.
I'm a whole
fan.
deck-carrying member.
It's in your pocket. That's where I was going. All right. Well, he passes the turn back.
I mean, at some point, you might almost have to just. Well, I guess you can't really attack.
I mean,
with
it's
1,000
just
wins.
so many creatures. Oh, you can attack with 1,000 wins.
Sure, but I'm saying, you know, it's not safe necessarily.
Yeah, it is. He's just going to start jamming with it. Like, I bet you he's.
You think he's just going to unmorph it and just start bashing?
I think he's going to unmorph it and start bashing. Like, and I don't know what that other morph is, but like, he does not want to sit here and wait around for an Icy Blast to show up. Now we know he doesn't have it, but Neal doesn't.
All right, here comes Serac.
Serac's battling. All right, so yeah, it looks like Xavier's had enough of sitting around staring at each other. He wants to at least start getting some resources traded off here. And it looks like Neal's lining up a fairly epic block here.
The greatest block of all time.
Yeah, look at this. Neal just says, look, if we're going to play a resource fight here, like, I'm in, because he's the one with Secret Plans. Xavier did resolve a Wii Fate, but it's not enough here.
Right. He knows, and he knows one of the two cards left in Xavier's hand
Is Mandrills.
Is Mandrills, and he's one unknown card.
Right.
So he's like, well, you know, I don't want to lose here to become immense.
Something stupid. Yep, just something silly. But wait, there's more. It's a monastery block. So that's 6, 12, 21, 24 toughness he just put in front of Serac.
And Serac only killed a monastery flock.
Yeah, wow. Traded for a monastery flock. You've got to love that if you're sitting in Neal Oliver's seat.
And he just played the Mandrills. Just full price, yeah.
Yeah, we'll make a move. There we go. Yeah, full price for Mandrills. Interesting choice there by Oliver. He also could have just chump blocked. It's like throwing the embodiment in front or whatever, and then bounce Serac back. Sure, it has flash, so you might not get like the fullest of value, but like you do time walk him. You know, you make him use up all of his mana for the turn again. One unknown card in Xavier's hand for Neal Oliver, but I think it's time to start beating down. Like, now he's going to pass a turn and play it safe.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to block. He loves it.
He does love blocking.
He loves it.
I think I just turn that thing face up and say, hit you for 5. Like, I guess if he can't leave mana up to regenerate the Kin Tree Warden, so that matters. But with double Dragon's Eye Savants, I'm just not that worried at 15 life. Even, it's like, sure, show me a combat trick, whatever, right? Like, I'll trade my Savants for a couple of life and your combat trick. You know, right now, Xavier's has fairly limited resources at his disposal. Though he has found a combat trick. It's Dragon Scale.
Which is very interesting if you can get the right get that on the right attacker
with
after
1,000.
blocks with 1,000 wins.
Yeah, could work
You know,
out.
it counters the 1,000 wins ability to bounce it.
Yeah, it does. Like Neal could get too much confidence in, well, he's not going to have anything anyway, and,
Yeah.
you know, and then ooh.
But you know, this deck gets a little messy.
This deck is.
There's so many triggers, so many things.
It's a mess.
You start worrying about decking yourself.
Yeah. It gets messy. It's a complicated deck to play, especially once it gets rolling like this, where he's chaining morphs together and still has secret plans running. But it's sweet. I mean, Neal Oliver's drawing a lot of extra cards. Look at he's counting out his mana.
He just drew another
He's got
secret plans.
9. Did he really?
Yeah.
Well, the second secret plans is the one that puts it into overdrive. Because now, you know, we were talking about chaining together morphs. Now you're just almost guaranteed. Like, because you're essentially drawing 3 cards a turn. This is game 3 here, so...
This is where you start thinking about Ice Feather Ravening your own monastery.
This is where you start. You're insane. Wow. And we don't know what that morph is, right? Neal Oliver's face down morph?
Oh, no, we're pretty sure it's 1,000 wins.
Oh, that's the 1,000 wins,
That's the
right?
1,000
That's
wins.
the only one he's got.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
of
got
course
bounced.
it is.
It got bounced and replayed.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder there. I was like, what is that again? Yeah, this board state has gotten a little bit dicey
All right,
here.
there's a long shot squad.
It's not going to do anything here either.
It's going to block. It's going to let something block a flyer
Yeah.
with that Dragon Scale boot.
Oh, you're right about that.
So
That
suddenly,
does change things.
suddenly that Snowhorn Rider has the ability to ambush 1,000 wins
It
should
sure
he
does.
decide to get in there.
Wow, now that's interesting. Because right now, Neal Oliver needs to find his Mystic of the Hidden Ways.
He has one. He's got one in hand.
One in
I think
hand and
that's
one
what
in the yard, I believe, is where we're at with it.
Okay,
All right,
we're going
let's
to start growing.
This guy past the turn back. He knows that Xavier just doesn't have any good attacks as long as he's got that 1,000 wins mana sitting there, and Neal's just ready to settle in for the long game. He's just,
Yeah.
how about you just sit back? I'll sit back. You can't do anything. As it turns out, Xavier can do a little bit, but it's still not enough. We got to remember that Neal's at 15 here.
Yeah, the more pressing question at this point is how many cards are in Neal's library?
I mean, he's probably got 12 or 13 still, so we've got some time here. But yeah, you're right, it does add up. And
Yeah.
you know, Xavier has a well-timed removal spell, take away Neal Oliver's clock. It could get ugly. He's at 21. Xavier just hanging on. He had a good start, but has been just stable enough for Neal until he's pulled ahead off the back of his 1 secret plants. Now he's got 2,
Yeah.
and he's looking to pull way
I
ahead.
think he's got Mystic of the Hidden Way in hand. I feel like you've got to deploy that.
Yeah, you want to start chipping away with your Mystic for sure.
Oh, but I guess he's waiting till he has enough mana,
Oh,
so
you
he
know
doesn't
he is.
have to lose.
I'd like you to meet Neal Oliver.
Yeah,
He's very patient, which is great. I mean, that is a
You love
proven style. I love this. I mean, he's basically playing a game that is going to absolutely minimize his chance of losing. Now, you do take on a little bit of extra risk giving your opponent a bunch of extra draw steps, so it's not without its downside. But, I mean, with that 1,000 wins, he feels bulletproof.
okay. There's his
What did he
10th
find?
land,
There's number 10.
but it's not going to be online until next turn.
Back up to 16. What's this?
Yeah.
Finally an attack. He's got it up to 5. He's fine trading for Snowhorn Rider. He's fine letting them double block, and just any of those 3 main creatures or 4 main creatures, he's ready to trade for. Nice. Let's get a little attack
Yeah,
here.
but the Sultai Flare, like life, this is starts getting Xavier's mad.
You're really worried about this deck, aren't you?
I'm worried about cards.
Yeah, it is an issue. It's not a May, right?
No, it is not a man.
You're drawing cards whether you like it or not. It does get interesting when you put it in that context. Xavier ended up taking it here, though.
Okay.
I don't know. It just feels like if Neal draws his whole deck, like,
Sure.
you know, he's going to have the tools to win the game one way or the other. And this board state has gotten completely out of hand. For those of you just joining, we're in the semifinals here in Ottawa. And we've got one heck of a game on our hands. It's a game 3 to make it into the finals to play against Seth Manfield for the privilege of battling Seth's fairly absurd deck.
Here comes a morph. Here comes a Snowhorn Rider.
Xavier has infinite mana available.
And we know he's got a Dragon Scale boot. I think we're just going to see.
Just let's see the Dragon Scale Boon, I think, is the... Neal's being really careful, but he doesn't need to be absurdly careful here because he's still got 1,000 wins available here, right? 1, 2,
Right.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he does. So this way he just takes nothing.
Right.
And he's just like, fine, sure, no problem. He's just very content to sit on that 1,000 wins forever.
Right, and now he's got a couple of morphs that he can deploy in a row. He's got an Ice Feather Raven in hand that he's been sitting on for turns.
Uh-huh.
And he's got a Mystic of the Hidden Way that he's been sitting on for even more turns.
Wow.
He was waiting to get to 10 mana.
So he's got insurance for his insurance plan?
Yes. Yes, he's
Yep, okay.
all right.
Is that little pile of white cards his library right there?
Yes.
Interesting.
I think you understand how nerve-wracking this is for me.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done anything. He's drawn a bunch of cards just off of his draw step. I think Xavier's at 16.
Yes. But if anything dies... Okay, so there's the Mystic of the Hidden Way.
Draw some cards.
You draw things like Crippling Chill.
Oh, no. Oh, man, if Neal Oliver goes out in a blaze of glory by decking himself here, like, I can't decide if winning the GP is cooler than that or or not.
Plays another morph. Starts getting in.
Do you remember, we used to call it Necro Lock when you drew enough cards where you didn't have enough life to pay? Is he going to get secret plans locked here where he can't turn his morphs up? All right, so Xavier down to 13.
Xavier has enough mana, he can almost start thinking about forcing the decking scenario just by getting some attackers in. You know, he's like,
And
okay.
gaining 100 life?
You know, just like, yeah, he's like gaining life, getting 1,000 wins to draw 2 cards.
The 1,000 wins is such a blowout, though. Like, it could set up such a nasty turn for Neal.
Okay. Here it comes. It's Ice Feather Raven.
Okay, draw some cards.
What are you returning?
He's going to get rid of the
get rid of the
2
long
flyers.
shot squad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the long shot. Or the long shot squad, the best breach creature. He wants to be able to get the Ice Feather Raven in. I guess that doesn't get in right now anyway. That's a lot of cards in his hand, but he needs to start getting things underway. I guess he has started. I shouldn't say that. He has started getting things underway. No loot, right? Or
No.
he does loot.
He loots.
Oh,
No fear.
Is the loot optional?
The loot is optional.
Okay, because I've never not done it when had the chance, but I've never put myself in the spot where I didn't want to. Okay, so Abomination, Ice Feather Raven, and Mystic can all get in here, correct?
Yes.
So that's 3, 6, 7, 8. And this is going to put huge pressure on Xavier now,
Yes.
dropping him down to 5 life.
Oh, everybody come on!
This could do it right here. He goes for it. Become Immense. All those cards in the yard. Does Xavier have something?
No!
He doesn't have it, and he has to extend the hand. And Neal Oliver with, look at that little library. Look at that. His graveyard's bigger. His hand's bigger than his library. And,
Oh
and
my
finally
God.
a smile from Neal Oliver. Well done, though, Xavier. A great job for a young man
Yeah.
starting out
Oh
on
my
his
God.
Magic career. He's going to be at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what he does
He
at
gets to be a semi-finalist.
Pro Tour,
Yeah,
Favorite Forge.
yeah, he's going to walk into his local game store like, hey guys,